Okay, so what we're going to be talking about then in more detail, as far as reporting goes, we'll talk first about your contacts and member nation, since that's sort of the foundation of where your reports are going to pull from. Most of those reports will have to do with some of your contacts. So we'll talk about who your contacts are, how they get into member nation. Then we'll talk about what the standardized reports are that we provide for you that you have available already. And then we'll talk about how you can actually create some reports of your own. Then we will talk about basic CRM, so customer relationship management, things like how you can add new contacts if you have local contacts that you need to add to the system, how you can add badges to those contacts, how you can create new badges if you need to, and then how you can attach notes or add notes and attachments to those contact records in the system. And then we will also talk about email marketing. We will discuss the custom or the standardized templates that are already available within the Marketing Cloud platform and how you can customize those to include your own text. And then we'll talk about how you can actually create an email from using just a layout design, so you can include all of your own formatting and text as well. And then we'll talk about how you can actually send your emails once they are created and customized. So first of all, reports. So your contacts and member nation that you would base your reports on, the contacts that you have access to or can see, the visibility for those contacts is defined using badges. So, these badges are essentially a tag, a way of tagging those contacts so that they are assigned to the society. So you might have individuals with a candidate badge because they're candidates in the CFA program and they're close to the local area, or they might have the member badge, which means that they're a member of both the society and CFA Institute, or they could have this public badge, which essentially is just a more generic way of noting that this individual is assigned to that society. So it could be for one of those same reasons that are already listed there. It could be because they're a candidate in your area. It could be because they're a member, or it could be because they're just in the database and they are closest to your area. So they've kind of been assigned to the society. So in addition to all of those shared badges, there are also the local only contacts that societies can have, and how these individuals get into the database, get into member nation. Shared contacts, so again, those who are either members of the society already or they're candidates and they're in your general area, those individuals are going to be uploaded during the onboarding process, and they will have those badges applied as part of that onboarding process. Going forward, those records are going to be updated automatically. So not only with any contact updates that the individual might create to their phone number or email address, but also those badges will be updated automatically as well. So if an individual moves to your area, then that badge will be applied. If they apply for membership with the society, then the badge will be applied. If they register for the CFA program, that badge will be applied. So again, not only contact details, but also badges will be automatically updated going forward for those shared contacts. For the local only contacts, those are also uploaded during the onboarding process so that they're added and badged accordingly. Those individuals who are local only members can go ahead and create a login profile on the CFA Institute account if they want to do that. That way they can go ahead and update their own contact details automatically, and nothing has to be done manually there. But if an individual doesn't do that, if they're just a local contact and they're just in member nation, they don't have their own login account that they've created, then obviously those individuals, you would need to update their record, their contact details, as you find that their email address has changed, for example. You would need to go in and update those contact records. Similarly, once we've done that first bulk upload of your local contacts, if you have any new local contacts going forward, those individuals, if it's just a one-off individual who's, has applied for local membership, then you can very easily just create a record for them. And I'll show you that process here in just a second. Or if you have, a number of individuals, if you have, 50 individuals who all apply at the same time, then we can, again, help you with bulk uploading those so you don't have to manually add 50 individuals. So now that we've talked a bit about how the contacts are in MemberNation and how you can see which records you have there because of those badges, we'll talk about the reporting that you can use to kind of pull that data back out and see who your contacts are. So as far as the reports go, we have some standardized reports that we've created for you, and there is basically all of these standardized reports are added to each society's reports folder during the onboarding process. So if we take a look in the live environment, you can see a listing of all of the basically these are the standardized reports that we provide. So active charter holders, candidates, charter pending individuals, any contact who has one of the badges for your society would be there. All event registrations for the society. So basically a list of all of your event registrations for all of your events. Form responses. So if you have events that have a form attached to the ticket types to gather additional information on dietary restrictions and things like that, then those form responses would pull into that report. A list of those individuals whose membership has lapsed with both CFA Institute and the society. Another list that would show individuals who are members of both CFA Institute and the society. So those are kind of those shared member contacts. And then also your unaffiliated charter holders. So charter holders who are in your general area but are not members of any society. And we have what's called what we're calling the reports playbook. So on the Society Center, under the training section for MemberNation, which is under resources and then technology, we have the Society Reports playbook. So what this does is essentially takes those standardized reports and gives you kind of a definition for them so that you know exactly what you're pulling when you pull any of those standardized reports. So again, all of those are available once the onboarding phase is complete or at some point during that onboarding process. So you should be able to pull any of those contacts using those reports fairly easily. But then you can also create reports yourself from scratch. This is obviously a little more complicated just because there are a lot of different report types. Report types are the foundation of creating your reports. So that's the first step in creating a report is defining which report type you want to use. And again, the playbook is going to come in handy here because it helps you identify what those report types are and what information can be used in them. As you can see, there are a whole bunch of different report types here, and each of these folders has multiple report types underneath it. So again, knowing a more narrow list of the types of the report types that you might want to choose from is helpful. So that's where that playbook is going to come in handy. And then once you have defined and pulled up your report type, you can add fields and filters and a date range and all of those sorts of things to get the actual data that you're looking for. So again, if we take a look at this playbook, after the list of the standardized reports that we provide for you, there's a section on creating your own reports. So this, again, walks you through what the report types are and which categories they fall under. So this is helpful because essentially there are just two main categories that you might want to pull your reports from, your report types from. There's the accounts and contacts category. And under this category, you've got just 4 reports that would probably be useful. You've got your contacts and accounts. These are going to be essentially, just if you are just trying to pull contacts and pull kind of a filtered set of contacts, then you would probably use that one. There's the MN registrant list, which this is going to be specifically related to individuals who've registered for events in MemberNation. So if you're looking more for a specific event type list or report, then this is the report type that you would probably want to use. The FON for Fontiva, attendee interview responses list, this is the one that's going to help pull in those individuals' who've completed those forms that we were talking about. So if you're looking for information on those forms, this is probably the report type that you'll want to start from. And then we also have the contacts and badges report type. This is similar to the contacts and accounts, but you can also see the badges on those records. So again, this is another one that can help if you're looking for specifically for information about contacts who essentially belong to the society. And then the other main category that you'll see there and we'll look at this in just a second, the other main report category that you'll want to choose from is the other reports category, because this has some additional types of requests. So this is where you're getting into a little bit more specifics. For example, the events and attendees and order lines report type is going to have information about more details about the event itself if you want to be able to pull that information in. But you can also then see not only details about your event, but also details about those contacts who have registered for those events. The Fontiva attendees and registration items is again going to include some of these similar details about the event itself. So a description of the event, whether or not waitlisting is applied, whether or not the capacity is on the event, tickets sold and remaining, but it's also going to include specific registration details. So things like your registration and sales order prices would be on there. There's also the sales orders, transactions, registration items report. This is, again, digging in a little bit deeper. So it's going to include things like billing details, contact information for those individuals who have a sales order on file, sales order status, information about the transactions. So again, this is more if you're looking for some of those more specific payment type order details. Then there is the Fontiva attendees and registration items, which looks like I've actually got that one on here twice. So that's the same one as this one. And then there is the member nation registrant list based on attendees, which this is, again, very similar to the one that's up here, but it's based on the attendee record rather than the contact record. So when an individual is registering for an event in member nation, they can either register, they can be an attendee themselves and be registering themselves, or they can actually register on behalf of somebody else, or they can register for multiple tickets. So this is just a way of making sure that you're able to see not only information about the person who's completing the registration, but information on the attendees themselves. So again, that gives you some of the details on these different reports. So if we go ahead and take a look at the reports tab, we can see how we can pull up some of this information. So let me show you first of all. So again, all of these reports are going to show up in your own reports tab, but then if you are ready to create a report, so let me see if this is our training environment. So from the reports tab, I'll do that part again. From the reports tab, you can just click new report. And again, you can see all of the different report types over here. So this again is where you can reference that list of report categories. So you might say, all right, I want to pull information on contacts who have specific badges within my society. So you might decide to go into the accounts and contacts category here, and you can see there are a lot of different reports in there, but based on the playbook here, you might say, okay, I want to pull up the contacts and badges type. So we'll select that. Once you've selected your report type, you can click create. And this gives you the basics or the basis on which to build your report. So some of the things that you'll choose off the bat, you can first of all decide whether you want to see just your own contacts or if you want to see all contacts across basically across all the contacts that you have access to view. You can also then decide if there is a specific date range that you want to use. This is defaulted to pulling in a birth date. You could also if you decided you just wanted to look at individuals who'd been awarded the charter for a certain year, you could do that, or had where the record was created within a certain date range. So if you wanted to look at just new records that had been created over the past month or whatever, you can use that option. So in this case, we're going to say, and basically this is just a way of kind of filtering the list. So if you essentially don't want to have any sort of filter on this, you can just you can go ahead and keep in the date field, but then you can change this to all time. So it will reflect all records that you have access to. What you can also do is, usually for most of these report types are going to have kind of a default set of fields that will populate automatically. You can go ahead and start from that if you want, or you can always just remove all of the columns and kind of start from scratch with building your report. So for our report here, we might say that, okay, we want to definitely include the individual's name. So, and you can start typing any of the field criteria here, and it will show you anything that meets those criteria that you typed in there. So anything that has the word name in it, it's bringing up here. So, but what I want is the full name here. So we're going to go ahead and drop this here. And I also want my badge name. So I'm going to add this here. And let's see, what else do we want to add here? And let's say that we just want, we want to know when the badge was created. You can double click on any of those to add them. This is going to show you, essentially, this is the date that all of the badges were added to this record. So you might think, actually, I don't know that I want that. So I'll move that back over here. You might say, okay, I want a charter award date. Since these are all test records, then they don't actually have charter award dates, but obviously your real data would. So again, you can just kind of experiment with this until you get the fields that you want. You can always scroll down and see all of the data that's available to add in there as well. So once you've got your information the way you want it, you can also then filter that. So right now we're pulling in anyone who has, basically anybody that you have access to, because we're looking at the all contacts. But you might have said, okay, I only want to look at individuals who have a local society badge on their record. So I'm going to add a filter. And again, here you can filter on any of the fields. And again, you've got a list of all of them, or you can start typing in the name of the field to bring that up. So we're going to say that we want to have a filter on the badge name, and we want our badge name, we want to pull in just those badge names that contain the word local. I'm going to say okay. And you can see that it's now narrowed it down. And one important thing to note here is that it's telling you this preview is just showing a limited number of records. So if you want to see all of them, you need to run the report. So we're going to go ahead and run that. And you can see in this example that there are still just 4 individuals who meet those criteria. At this point, then you could go ahead and continue customizing further if you wanted to, or you could actually just go ahead and save it if you now have your report set up the way you'd like. So we're going to say, we're going to name our report local badges. By default, it's going to give this report its unique name here, so you can just tab through to have it create that, and you can decide where you want to save the report. So you'll be able to bring up this drop-down field that will show all of the report folders that you have access to. So I'm going to say that, and you'll always have my personal custom reports. This is where you can kind of save your own reports that you want to work on. If you have a report that you're wanting to share out with all of the rest of your society, then you can save it into your own societies folder. We'll just go ahead and save it to my personal custom reports for now. And you can either go ahead and just save it if you're done working on the report for now, or you can save it and return to the report if you want to save it and then keep working and keep customizing your report. So, any questions on that reporting functionality? Okay. All right. Then we'll move on to basic CRM or customer relationship management. So as we've talked a bit about badging and how records get into Member Nation for you, how they'll be updated automatically if they're shared members, but you may also find that you want to add contacts. So if you have individuals who apply for local membership or going forward after the onboarding process is complete, or just individuals that you need to add to the database to have access to them. So these records can be added from the contacts object in Member Nation. And two things that you'll always want to make sure that you've selected. One is you want to select that they're a local member, and then one of the required fields is the account name, and you always want to choose this Fontiva default account. And there are two different types of name fields that you'll see here as well. We just like to always point these out. The standard name fields are going to be kind of the legal names that an individual goes by, but there are also local name fields. So if an individual has more of just kind of a local name that they want to be referred to by, you can use that as their local name in using those local name fields. So if we take a look again in our training environment here, these are all of our local contacts, but we can go ahead and add a new one, or all of our recent contacts, sorry. So we'll go ahead and say that we want to create a new contact. And again, we want to make sure that we're choosing local member. Click continue. And again, this is that account name field that you'll need to fill in. So you always want to choose this Fontiva default account. And then you can see that there are a limited number of required fields. Essentially, it's just the surname or the family name here. But again, you can fill in all of the details for your individual. And you can fill in as much or as little information as you have here. So here's where you could input their local information if you wanted to. You can fill in birth date. You can fill in any of their contact information that you have on file. So email addresses of various types, phone information, their address. This information down here is going to essentially be grayed out when you're creating a new record. In the training environment, it's not here, but all of these sorts of details are restricted since they're driven by their shared contact information and would be updated automatically. So we'll go ahead and save this record. So that's basically all there is to creating just a new contact. It's very straightforward. All right. So for your badges, again, once you have added a new record, you will want to make sure that you go ahead and badge that record right away, just to make sure that they continue to remain visible for all of the society. So if the badge that is appropriate for them already exists, you can just easily attach that badge to their record. You can essentially, once you've saved their record, you can scroll down to this badges related list and click that you want to apply a new badge. And you can just use the lookup box to find all of the badges. So we're going to say that this is a local member here. Once you've selected that badge, you can also note start and end dates. So if you want to be able to track when an individual's local membership ends, you can go ahead and use the dates here, or you can just go ahead and save it if there's not really an end date for that record. So that's how you would attach a badge that already exists to a record that you have on file. But you can also actually create new badges if you need to. So again, during the onboarding process, we would create local badges for you if you have local members already, and you can attach those. But going forward, you might decide that you want to have other types of local badges as well. So you might decide that you want to have a new badge type for individuals who are regular luncheon attendees, for example. Or you might decide that you want to have just kind of a mailing list. So you want to have badges for those individuals who are on essentially a mailing list. So, and what those badges do for you is it, first of all, it defines the visibility. So if you apply one of those badges, it would make sure that anybody else who administers your society within Member Nation, it will make sure that they can see those records as well if they have that appropriate society badge on there. And it also helps define any sort of discounts that the individuals might receive in applying for an event or in registering for an event. So you could decide that you have, these luncheon contacts, but you want to be able to offer them a reduced rate for the luncheons. So you could create this new badge type, and you could then, when you're setting up your events, you could indicate that the individuals with that badge on their record should get a specific reduced rate for those registrations. So, so to create a new badge, again, it's also pretty straightforward. So you would just go into the badge types object here, click new. You would just give your badge a name. We'll just call this luncheon members. And you can add a description if you want to. You want to select the business group so that it's assigned correctly to the society. Then you want to say that the badge type is active and published. So doing that would then allow you to add that new badge type to any of your records as needed. So again, that part's pretty straightforward. Let's see if I get to my right place here. Okay. Another part of basic CRM is that you have the ability to attach notes or add notes and add attachments to records. So if we go back into our record that we just created, and we scroll down, we can see there's a notes and attachments section here. So you could add a new note, for example, and the only thing that's technically required is the title. So you could put all of the detail for your note in the title here, or if there's a lot more information, you can always add the additional detail into the body of the message. So whatever sort of information you want to include there. And you do have the ability to mark a note as private. This would make it so that only you can see that particular note that you created, or if it's just something public that you want to have on their record for the benefit of any of your admins to see, then you can just save it there. You also have the ability to add attachments in the same area. So you can select upload files, and you could find whatever attachment it is that you wanted to attach to their record. And let's see, so that we want to add this. And it's now marked as done, so we're going to go ahead and close. So then we should see that we now have the attachment as well as the note that I added. So any questions about that? Okay. So now we're going to spend the rest of our time here talking about email marketing. So the email marketing tool, there are essentially two places where you kind of work to craft and send your emails, your messaging. So to actually create your messages, first of all, is done within the Marketing Cloud interface. And I'll show you how you can easily get there from the main part of Member Nation. And so within this Marketing Cloud area, which again is where you're going to create your messaging, there are essentially 4 standardized templates that we've created for you, and there's some screenshots there of what those designs look like. We can always work with societies to create new designs if there are specific templates you'd like us to use to create new ones. We can help with that. So, and you can essentially start from any of these templates and then customize the content as needed. So let me show you kind of what that looks like. So from Member Nation itself, if you go to the Home tab, there are two links at the bottom left. One is to the training documentation, so that will help you easily get back to the Society Center to see the training information there. Or there's a Marketing Cloud link. So if you click that, it will go ahead and open up Marketing Cloud for you, in theory. I think I might have too many windows open. Try this again. All right. Let's try closing these. And if that still does not work, we will go to plan B. All right. So plan B. Let's see if we can get in here. All right, let me see if. Okay, so this is where it should take you. I'll check on why that link is not working. But within Marketing Cloud itself, there's what's called the Email Studio. And from there, you can see basically there's a content section where you can see all of the content that's available to you. And you'll have a series of your own personal folders as well as a series of shared folders down below. So what we have done is under the shared email folder that you'll have access to here, we have those 4 different templates that we were talking about. And the thing that's important to note here is that these 4 items are shared across all societies. So you would never want to directly edit any of these items themselves. You would want to create a copy, save that copy to your own folder within Marketing Cloud, and then edit it from there. So, for example, you can click on any of these to kind of see what they look like and decide which one you want to work with. So you could take a look and drill through, and you might decide you want to work with this one, for example. So what you can do is once you've decided that, you can click this box here, say that you want to copy this. It's going to give you a chance to rename the email if you would like, and it's going to ask you where you want to save it. So you want to make sure that you save it to your own folder. So we'll say that we want to save it to my emails, and give our email a name. This line then, and basically now we're started the process of actually creating our email. So we've given it a name. This is then the email subject line. So this is the subject line that will actually appear on the email itself. A pre-header is essentially a kind of a quick call to action or a quick highlight that you might enter. It's going to be the sort of one line that's going to appear underneath the subject line in kind of a preview of a message. So you can decide whether or not you want to include that there. And once you've decided on those things, you can go ahead and click Save. There. So once you have saved your the customized template, you can start adding your content here. So with these templates that we've designed for you, you essentially have these different content blocks that are already in place, and you can just modify the content within those blocks as needed. So for example, this obviously is intended to have your logo here. So what you can do is you can right click on any of those blocks, and you can then indicate that you want to modify the content that's in that block. This is essentially an image that has been inserted. So you can highlight that, and you can, again, right click to change the properties of that image. And what you can do is you can browse through to find the image that you want to include. And another thing that we've also done as part of the onboarding process is for each society's portfolio, which is the area where any images and things will be housed, within that portfolio, we've added a society's logos in the various formats that are available. So you can always go to the portfolio to find the society's logo to add that to your images. Once you've selected that, you also have the ability to make some other modifications surrounding that image. With a logo, you probably wouldn't necessarily change that just because it has all of the sort of branding elements and things that are included as part of that. But again, once you've done that, sometimes the OK button is kind of hidden down here, which is a little strange. But so that's pretty much all we want to do for that particular content block. So we're happy with that. But then you have all of these other blocks here. This particular layout or particular design is intended to be able to show information about several different upcoming events. So again, you can write or you can click on any of these blocks and start modifying them. So here, this is just text. So you can say, we've got our June luncheon at for anything where you want to add a link behind it, you can always highlight that text and indicate that you want to insert a hyperlink. And then you could paste in or type in the URL for whatever it is that you're wanting to add. So if you had a registration link, you could embed that here. We're just linking to a website. You could add that there. You can also do things like insert images. And again, your portfolio will have any images that you, any of your images that are already in that portfolio you can find there. Or if you have an image that's on your desktop that you want to attach, you can scroll through and find that. And it will ask you, once it's been uploaded, do you want to use this image right now? We'll say yes. And again, you can always modify the image properties by right-clicking and then making changes here. You can also embed links behind images. So again, if you right-click and click image properties, you can embed a link behind that image. So if you wanted somebody clicking on this image in your email message to be able to be taken to that registration URL, for example, you could put that image or that link there as well. So we'll go ahead and save that content block. And essentially, you can do that for all of your additional events or for any of these additional content blocks that you have here, just adding your content there. You can also do things like do some personalization. So if you wanted one of these blocks to actually address the person in question who's receiving the message, you could put in something like "Dear," and then you have the ability to insert some personalization. So you could say that you wanted to address this to "Dear and then you want it to include the first name, you could add that. I'm going to go ahead and bold that since this first part is bolded as well. And I think, yeah, I was going to say, I think our size is different as well. So then once you have linked this to your report, which we'll talk about in just a second, then it will bring in that personalized information. And for a lot of these customized templates here, we've also included images or the logos of the various social media platforms. So again, if you want to modify your content there, if there's one of the social media platforms that you don't currently use or that you don't want to include, you can always just delete that particular image or that particular logo. And then for the others, you can do just like we did before with some of those other images. You can highlight that image, right click, choose image properties, and then you could embed the URL for your own Twitter account in this example. You can embed that here. And again, some of your save button might need to be down, might be down here if you can't see it readily. So again, you can add those different links to your different social media accounts. So if we click save, once you're done, you can click the preview button to see what it's going to actually look like. You can always modify any of the other text if need be. And for these different templates that we've designed, you can see that they also include some of these required fields. So some of these fields are required in order for messaging to not be considered as spam. So things like noting the email address that this is being delivered to, who's sending it, links to the unsubscribe options, privacy policies, all of those sorts of things. That's one good reason why it's good to start from some of those standardized templates. Once you've got your email created, you should also click two different buttons here. One is the content detective button. And what this will do is it will scan through your message, and it's going to scan through and look for anything that might be considered as spam. So, if you had a lot of text in there and some of the text was likely to flag that and prevent it from being delivered, then it would note that. So that's one good thing to check there. There's also a validate button. And what this is going to do is it's going to look for all of those required components that I was talking about. So things like the address of the sender and the email address that it's trying to be delivered to, and things like unsubscribe options. So you always want to choose the subscribers list because, as we'll see in just a second, we're going to be basing our email send on a list of essentially a report that contains a list of kind of subscribers. So we're going to select that, and it's saying no problems found. So at that point, we would be ready to send this. And we'll talk about sending in just a second. But I wanted to show you do have the ability to create templates from scratch without having any of those kind of formatting content blocks behind the scenes. To do that, you would basically start from your emails folder here, and you would say that you wanted to create a template-based email. So within Marketing Cloud itself, what is considered a template is essentially just a layout, and it might have some basic formatting, but it doesn't necessarily have as much content as the drafts that you saw, those 4 drafts that we had created for you. So here, if you're creating your own email from one of the template layouts, you can then just click select. And if you go into the shared templates folder, you can see all of the different layout options here. So again, if you click these, you can see they're essentially just layouts with content in a specific configuration. So you can go through and find the one that looks the way you'd like based on the content that you're including. You can click OK to select that. Do the same things here, adding a name and an email subject and saving it. And essentially it will give you, see, oops. essentially it's going to give you a blank email with just these content blocks with no formatting, no content in it. But again, at this point, you could go ahead and start creating your content. So the one thing here is that instead of modifying blocks that are already there, you're needing to create content from scratch. So here, for the most part, you're going to just want to go ahead and choose content. And then depending on what type of content you're including will determine the orientation that you're selecting. I've usually found that selecting free form is usually the easiest unless you know that you're only going to have an image in that block. So if you know it's a block where you're just going to put your logo, then you could choose an image only orientation. Otherwise, free form has the most flexibility. So we're going to choose free form for this example. Click next, and then it's going to let you start putting in all of your content. Again, you've got your ability to put in your images. You can type in your text. You can add personalized content, etc. So that's how you can essentially create an email more from scratch. But again, you're starting from the layout. And if you are starting from one of these layout designs, that's going to have those required fields in it as well. So as long as you're starting from one of those templates, either a template that has fuller data, like the 4 examples that we have, or starting from one of these layout templates, it should have the necessary components to keep it from being flagged as spam. So once you have your email created, then at that point, and here's the example of pulling those template designs. But then once you're ready to send your messaging, you would go back into the other part of the Member Nation interface, and you're going to select your email template. You're going to select the report that contains the recipients you want to send your message to. You're going to select a send classification and indicate whether you want to send the message now or later. So let's take a look at some of these components. So if we go back into our Salesforce area here, the your messages are always going to be sent to a report. So this is again where the reporting comes in handy. So you want to be able to pull up a list of individuals that you want to send your message to. So again, if you've got your standardized reports that we were talking about already. So if you're wanting to address your message to any individual who has a contact badge for the society, you can pull those individuals. Or if you want to pull individuals who are members of both CFA Institute and the society, you can pull that. You could always take your list of all of your badges and create, starting from here, you could then create a customized report. What you could do is essentially create a save as option. And let's see. So if you wanted to, I'm trying to think of an example that's not already in here. If you wanted to pull just a specific subset, you could always create a customized version of that report. So if you wanted to customize it, because this obviously is pulling in any individuals who have a badge name with Mauritius in it, you could change this and edit it so that it was pulling in individuals whose badge name contains Mauritius, but also contains local, for example. That would be a way to pull in just local contacts if you wanted to send your message to just your local only members. So again, essentially, once you've got your report that you want to, that includes the individuals that you want to address with your messaging, what you would want to do first is go in and just run that report quickly. So go in, click your run report. That will just make sure that all of your content is refreshed, that it has the most current set of data and set of contacts for that particular report. And then once you have done that, you can go into the Marketing Cloud button here, and it's going to kind of basically link this interface with the Marketing Cloud interface where your email draft is housed. So then you're going to go through and say that you want to find the email that you created. And because I've been doing these in a couple different environments, probably won't be able to find the email that that email I just crafted in. Let's take a look though and see. Here we go. So we're going to choose our training template email. And you can see that it pulled over the subject line that I had typed in there. And now we want to select our recipients by pulling in the report that we want to address this to. For our purposes here, I'm just going to pull, I have a report that contains just my own information. So I can use that for sending out test reports, so I don't actually send out a message to individuals. But again, you would pull in your report that you had created or one of the standardized reports that was already there. So once you've selected that, you can indicate whether or not you want to essentially save this as kind of a linked report. If you want to be able to save this email and the contacts that it was sent to, you can pull this, or you can click this box. What this will do is, because since these are based on reports that are dynamic, you might send your report or you send your email to a report of, for example, local contacts in the society. If you were to want to send a follow-up message to those same individuals, you wouldn't necessarily want to inadvertently pull in individuals who have now been added as local members at a later date, if you're wanting to make sure that you're addressing it to the same contacts that you had in the first place. So this would help you to remember the recipients that were originally included in the first version of this email. And then under from, you always want to start from the send classification. And the vast majority of the time, you're going to want to choose commercial here. This is going to be, any of your emails about events or emails about almost anything is going to be a commercial transaction. The only thing that would not be a commercial, that would be a transactional, would be something that was very specifically related to membership dues. So again, for the most part, you're going to want to choose commercial. And what this does, if by choosing commercial, it's going to honor any of the communication preferences that an individual has indicated. So if they've said, I don't want to receive communications about, society functions and things like that, choosing default commercial will pull those individuals out of the report. So again, that's just kind of a privacy policy, honors the privacy policies by choosing default commercial here. Dedupe subscribers, this will make sure that any individual who happens to be on your report more than once will only receive your communication once. And you can decide whether or not you want to send your message right away or whether you want to schedule a send for later on. So you have those options there. And then you're always going to need to check that you've certified that all of these people have opted in. Again, by choosing the default commercial option, it should be pulling out those individuals as well who have said that they don't want to be communicated with. So then we'll go ahead and click send. And it will go ahead and send this message to whoever was on your report. In this case, it's just going to be sent to me directly. And then what you can do once your messages are sent, I'll go back in to, if you go into this email sends tab, you'll see all of the messages that have been sent out from your account. You can see what the name of the message was, when it was sent, whether or not it was complete, and the report that it was based on. And for any of these sends, you can drill into the send to get more information on that messaging. So for this example, I've drilled into one that I sent on March 17th. You can see that I deduped subscribers. I, again, attached it to this test EM report. You can see, again, some more details, who the email came out from, what the from address and name were. You can see a preview of what the message looked like, what the subject line was, again, when it was sent. And then down below, you can see some analytics on the deliverability of your message. So for this example, we had a 100% delivery rate. You can see one person opened it, one person clicked on it, one total message was delivered. Obviously, this would be a little more exciting if you were sending your message to more than one person. But you can see information about the open performance. So again, it had an open rate of 100%. So it was delivered to one person, it was opened by one person, and there was one unique open. And then you can also see some unengaged subscribers. So if you had individuals who received the message but did not click it or did not open it, you would be able to see that information here. So again, it just helps you see more information and helps you kind of track the success of your message. And then you also have individual email results. So here, if you, again, sent your message to, say, 50 people, you could see all 50 individuals that it was sent to, and you could see what happened with each of those individuals, whether that specific person opened the message, whether the message bounced when it was sent to them. And you can also drill into, because this will bring up the contact record or the contact link for any of those individuals that your message was sent to. You can drill into that contact record. And what you're also able to see is, if I can find the right place where it is, here, the communication preferences. This is how an individual will basically, if they receive your message and there was that unsubscribe text at the bottom, they have the ability to click on that and unsubscribe. And if they had unsubscribed, you would be able to see that they were opted out here. You also have the ability to manually opt out someone from this screen. So if I were to click unsubscribe, that would unsubscribe me from these messages. And going forward, any message that was sent using the commercial transaction would not be delivered to me. It would not go out to me. So again, that's a way that you can sort of administer and just keep track of the preferences for the individuals on your list. All right, so I know that's a lot of information to cover, but what questions do you have and can I answer for you? All right, looks like no questions. Matsuda, if you do find, oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, I just unmuted it just in case I had anything to say.
Okay. Yeah, if you do find, as you get in there and start working on some of these reporting or looking at your data or anything, definitely feel free to shoot an email over to Society Tech, and we'll be happy to take a look and answer any questions you might have as you go forward.
Okay. So one question I had, like, can we start using this, or we have to wait like for a particular time to start using it?
Let me check specifically on your account. I'll check with Joe and see for sure where we're at, and I'll let you know for sure if you're all set up, or if there's still some steps that we need to take to get you ready. But I'll let you know.
Okay, sure.
All right. Well, thanks so much for participating today. And again, once we do get you in there, let me know if you do have any questions going forward.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.